The power to move a nation forward takes root in the productivity of business and industries. As your Meralco Corporate Partner, we understand the role power plays in fueling the growth of your business, how it moves, how it brings things to life, how it drives your business, and ultimately, how it plays a role in building a nation. We have evolved from being a power distribution company to a total energy solutions provider.
We value the fact that Meralco has taken a very proactive approach to customer service and given us the ability to provide reliable and sustainable services to our customers, effectively tying our relationship with Meralco to our relationship with customers.
There is power in partnerships. Partner with us today. Understands that reliable and dependable energy is necessary to sustain and grow a business. Businesses that power a nation. Power Ideas by Meralco. Brought to you by the Meralco Corporate Partners. San Beda College is a private Roman Catholic college with a satellite campus in Alabang, Muntinlupa. It is a sprawling 9.6-hectare campus with a student population of 7,000 from preschool to postgraduate levels. This campus, which first opened its doors in 1972, has gone through major changes through the years. In July 2013, the leadership of San Beda College Alabang decided to implement an energy efficiency campaign throughout its campus.
My vision in terms of energy consumption is for San Beda to be a front runner in being an energy efficient school. Now, this can only be done through a close and continuous monitoring and improvement of the power utilization in the school.
Our school, San Beda College, in the south, we noticed that it increased its population. And the volume of our students coincides with our energy consumption. So we have to take a measure in order to conserve energy and our consumption of electricity in order to save. And our savings will go back to the school because we use it to buy or upgrade our facilities.
After San Beda reached out to Meralco, Relationship Manager Patrick Panlilio set up a meeting with San Beda to discuss how to improve the utilization of electricity in the campus.
Pagtawag sa team ng Meralco sa aming school ay dagli nga silang nag-conduct ng energy efficiency audit sa aming paaralan. At pagkatapos nga nito ay nilibot namin yung mga classrooms, mga offices.
Together with the school's technical personnel, a thorough walkthrough of the electrical facilities of the school was conducted by the engineers of Meralco. Energy Solutions engineer Boyang Calderon and his team came up with a detailed recommendation on how to more effectively manage the school's power.
Dinala na yung kopya dito sa San Beda at pinakita nga sa amin ang mga naging problema na nakita nila. So karamihan nga sa gamit namin mga equipment, sa mga bintana, at nakita din rin yung mga luma naming aircon na pilit pa rin namin pinagagana maski pwede nang i-junk.
Besides the gradual replacement of conventional to inverter-type air conditioners, Meralco's recommendations also included replacing lighting with LED lights that not only consume less power, but provide more effective lighting. The use of blinds and window tinting were also practical solutions to keep out the heat and optimize air conditioning. Suggestions like keeping a steady thermostat were practical solutions that did not require any investment.
After a year, when we implemented the recommendation of Meralco, not only I am surprised, but we are all very happy because we saw the drastic difference and the lowering of our electrical consumption. So we saved a lot. I think we succeeded in being efficient in utilizing our facilities, especially our energy consumption.
The proper implementation in San Beda's grade school buildings were replicated in the high school and college facilities. Meralco now does regular preventive maintenance checkups for the school's electrical facilities. These consolidated efforts have brought down energy consumption by 70,000 kilowatt hours for academic year 2014 to 2015. The program also brought about substantial savings for the campus. Despite the increase in the number of enrollees, the EII, or Energy Intensity Index, decreased.
Meralco helped us, assisted us in controlling and managing our tuition fees and expenses. Our quality education doesn't come with a regular increase of the fee or high price. And more importantly, our students will also inculcate the values of energy management so they can help not only in the society and our school, but also they can apply it at their home and help their parents save from their expenses.
We are happy to be of service to a learning institution like San Beda College, Alabang, as it provides quality education for a brighter future for the growth of our nation. It's our privilege to assist and contribute in every way to further knowledge and education. Ako po si Patrick Panlilio at ito po ang aking team ng energy experts. Handa pong tumulong sa inyo.
Power Ideas by Meralco for end-to-end energy solutions. Contact your Meralco Corporate Partners. Talk to us today.
What do you do when your city is a beautiful, vibrant tourist destination during the day? Only to come to a standstill at night. The importance of a well-lit city is something the local government understands.
Well-lighted streets are a hallmark of good governance. Street lighting is a basic function of a city to lengthen the social economic activities of the people, enhance the quality of life, and improve the safety of road users. With these benefits, the city administration decided to go into massive street lighting.
In today's modern world, the main challenge for every developing city is to strike a balance between respecting its natural environment and prioritizing public welfare. A daunting task, to be sure, but not an impossible one. The long-term solution, as the city of Puerto Princesa has found, needs to be a smart one. Among the first in the Philippines, the city of Puerto Princesa is investing in a smart streetlight system where street lamps along major and side roads will not only shine brighter with LED luminaires, they will also be equipped with the latest in smart technology. Being the first of its kind, the street lighting project of this nature and scale, the project wasn't without its share of problems. One of the first hurdles was finding the right supplier.
We have to undertake a procurement process at ang nangyari, iba't ibang suppliers ang nanalo. So, iba't ibang itsura ng poste, iba't ibang wattage, iba't ibang itsura ng mga bulbs. At pagdating ng panahon, mahirap nang hanapin yung mga unang nag-supply. We tried to find a reputable contractor, and that's how we met MServe.
In partnership with Meralco subsidiary, MServe, the city started phase 1 of the Smart Lighting Project in early 2019 in 2 pilot areas. Barangays San Pedro and San Manuel, with their combined 8,587 households, are like most other barangays in the city. By nightfall, life screeches to a halt from lack of proper lighting on its streets. With just 700 smart street lamps installed during phase 1, residents have already seen and felt the benefits of the smart lights. The new LED luminaires outshine the previous street lamps along the National Highway in more ways than one. The city's engineers have also appreciated the advantages of the smart platform that connects all the streetlights to a single dashboard. The secure app allows for complete control of the smart street lighting system in real time.
Madali na namin makita ang day-to-day lighting consumption ng city. Madali na rin namin ma-identify ang errors, outages, at trouble areas.
The beauty of the smart lighting infrastructure is that it enables them to exponentially grow by having the capability to explore other smart solutions and revenue streams to help reinvigorate tourism and boost the nighttime economy. In other words, Puerto Princesa is poised to become one of the country's first ever smart cities. And it all started with a smart partnership.
We know that if we light up the entire city population, the city will be more vibrant, will be able to invite more investors, and with more investors, more jobs and more livelihood opportunities will be available for the people.
For end-to-end energy solutions, contact your M-Serve key account group.
A happy and hopeful New Year to everyone. This is the Meralco Power Up Live webinar on sustainability and safety updates for SM Prime. Welcome and good afternoon. By the way, I am Tin Lopez, Meralco Relationship Manager handling Ayala and Ortigas land accounts, and I will be your host this afternoon. In behalf of Meralco, we would like to thank you for your support the past year. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly impacted us in ways most of us did not expect, and we thank you for working with us as we all face this new normal. We hope that through this brief discussion, we'll be able to share with you the various sustainability and safety updates that Meralco can offer for your business. Let me read for you the house rules. Feel free to type in your questions and comments throughout the webinar. We encourage you to identify yourselves so we can acknowledge you properly. We will try our best to post and answer all of your questions during the Q&A session later. And last, please avoid posting personal details such as your SIN or Meralco service identification number, address, and mobile number. And now, to formally start this webinar, let us hear from Mr. Daryl Francisco, serving as the lead for real estate team under Private Sector Relationship Management of the Corporate Business Group.
Thank you, Tin. Good afternoon and Happy New Year to all. Welcome to the Meralco Power Up live webinar on sustainability and safety. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world and its effect will last. I believe that 2021 will be the year of transition. The next normal is going to be different. It will not mean going back to the conditions that prevailed in 2019. As you are well aware of, many of your locators and tenants, both for malls and offices, have already ceased operations. Occupancy and utilization levels are on its new normal. We will likely to discuss pre-COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 scenarios in the days to come. Bearing any unexpected catastrophes, individuals, businesses, and society can start to look forward to shaping their futures rather than grinding through the present. The best way we can do is to move forward and bounce back and think of ways on how to improve ourselves. Back in 2020, we experienced the eruption of Taal volcano that spews ashes that affected our distribution lines. In March 2020, it's the first time we experienced the total lockdown, which brought the economy to a halt. We experienced various abnormal conditions in the systems like overvoltage and voltage imbalance. With this, I think it's very timely for us to revisit the topics of electrical safety and power quality. On the regulatory side, we want to update you on the development on the recently enacted law on energy efficiency. I believe that you need to know the mechanics and requirements for your business to be compliant and how to navigate it. More and more, businesses are not concerned about their energy usage because of this new normal. We hope that this webinar would be able to address your business concerns and continue to shed light on how we can navigate the times ahead together. Maraming salamat and have a productive afternoon. Thank you. Back to you, Tin.
Thank you, Sir Daryl, for your inspiring message. Indeed, we are all here keeping the lights on for our customers. So moving forward, our first agenda is the discussion on electrical safety. Let us all welcome on screen our corporate safety specialist, Mr. Sean Pineda. Sean, I think you're on mute.
There we go.
Thank you.
So our outline for this afternoon is the basics of electricity, legal basis of electrical safety. Number 3 is hazards and risks of the use of electricity. Number 4, electrical safety. And number 5, the 10 golden rules of electrical safety. So the first topic, which is the basics of electricity, will be focusing more on understanding an overview of the electric power industry. I think everyone already knows this, but for those who are going to be listening for the first time, it would be great to just give you an overview of how electricity is generated and how it transfers or how it travels to our homes and to our businesses. So we start with the generation of electricity, and once the electricity is generated, it is stepped up to be transmitted through our transmission lines through NGCP. Once it is transmitted to as the energy backbone of the country, then the electricity travels to the different delivery point substations and subtransmission lines, and the subtransmission substations to be converted step down for use of the end users. In this case, we have of course industrial customers, industrial commercial customers, and our own homes, the residential customers. To also give you a better understanding of Meralco's franchise statistics, we'd like to share that Meralco serves as a mission-critical utility service provider. So we are the largest distribution utility in the Philippines. We are serving a total franchise area of 9,685 square kilometers, and is roughly around 3% of the Philippines' total land area. We have around 36 cities and 75 municipalities that are covered or that is within our franchise area. This covers Bulacan, Cavite, Metro Manila, and Rizal, and certain cities, municipalities, and barangays in the provinces of Batangas, Laguna, Pampanga, and Quezon. So we have a total customer base of about 6.6 million. And we are actually, we power up homes to about 27% of the Philippine population. So in terms of energy, in terms of franchise area, our franchise area generates around 50% of the country's GDP and produces about 60% of the manufacturing output within our franchise area. Now, I'd like to start with the legal basis of electrical safety. All of us believe that there's always a legal basis to what we're doing, and that is why we believe that compliance to the national laws and national codes and standards will actually help ensure electrical safety. Based on experience and based on our different discussions with the industry, it's actually conformance to the Philippine Electrical Code, which will actually help all of us have more electrically safe working environments and homes. So if everyone is just mindful of following the Philippine Electrical Code, we will be able to already bring down the number of electrical safety incidents, electrical incidents that happen. So it's best that we can comply with the Philippine Electrical Code, and I'm sure that SM does that, and SM does its part in ensuring compliance to the Philippine Electrical Code. So, of course, we know that there are benefits of electricity. It helps power up our homes. It helps help us communicate. It helps us accomplish great things. But if not properly controlled or managed, or if not properly used, there are inherent hazards and risks in the use of electricity. So we'd like to focus on the three types of electrical risks that that people may have. The first one is electrical shock. So we know that electricity travels in closed circuits and normally through a conductor, and our body is actually a very efficient conductor of electricity. So if not careful, the electricity can pass through our body and can result in injury or even fatality. The next type of electrical risk when working with electricity is flashovers, or also known as arc flash. It is when a short circuit happens, most especially if it's a high voltage electrical equipment or a high voltage situation. The explosion can cause blindness. The explosion can cause permanent injury to the person who is involved. And then, of course, we have electrical fires, which can commonly occur. Actually, later we'll show you statistics on fires caused by electrical instances or incidents. So this is also a risk whenever we have the use of electricity. Like I said, everything that we are currently using involves electricity. So there's always these inherent risks that are present. But all we need to be is to be mindful of these risks, and of course know what controls we should be putting in place to ensure that we are electrically safe. So let's deep dive into each of those risks. The first one is electrical shock. So here we'd like to emphasize why worry about electricity, most especially when it comes to you as a person, your body. So electrocutions rank 4th in causes of industrial fatalities behind traffic, violence, and construction. This is based on a study made by IIEE when they released the Electrical Safety at Home, Office, and Workplace Manual. So they found out that it ranks 4th. Next is that most accidents involve low voltage situations. So when people think, na aksidente sa electricity, they think na mataas kasi yung voltage. No, most of the incidents that happen with regard to electrical incidents is low voltage. So that's one thing that everyone must be able to consider. And electricity flowing through the body can cause involuntary muscle reaction, paralyze muscles, burn tissues, organs, or it can lead to fatalities. So just to emphasize, what are the effects of electrical shock? As you can see from this video, fall from heights is actually an effect of electrical shock. It is an indirect effect. As you can see, the man fell involuntarily, moving his muscles because he was electrocuted from that height. No, so it leads to major or minor injuries, unconsciousness or head injury, or it can lead to fatality as well, based on what we're seeing right now. So that's one risk that can happen when we're dealing with electricity. Of course, electrical burns are also another effect of electrical shock. Once it passes through your body, electricity will always create an entry point, an entry wound, and then an exit wound. So that's how electricity works, because we all know that it needs to reach the ground to dissipate. So that's what it will do. It will usually travel downward. And then, of course, fatal electrocution is a reality if the voltage is high enough, and the worker or the person involved won't be able to pull out, then fatality is inevitable. Another risk, like we mentioned, is a flashover when you're dealing with high voltage electrical situations. So what is a flashover? A flashover is brought about by a short circuit within the system, but it can happen so fast that it creates a flashover explosion. So as you can see from our image, it can release metal vapors, it can release intense light, it can also release shrapnel that can damage eyes, the body, certain sensitive parts of the body. There's also the presence of molten metal droplets that can spread after this explosion. So this is a very intense risk that people will face whenever they're dealing with electricity. So it's always important that we know what we're dealing with. So what are the results of flashover? It could lead to multiple degree burns. It could lead to blindness because of the proximity of a person if he or she is not also wearing the proper PPE, and also can lead to fatality. And then the third risk that we're talking about when it comes to electricity is electrical fire. So this was we got this from the Bureau of Fire Protection. This is a study made last 2016. So a total of 19,292 fire incidents occurred throughout the Philippines in 2016. And the two leading causes during that time is electricity and open flame or cooking. So that's why we always need to be mindful of how we use electricity. Where do these electrical fires usually start? They usually start in residential houses and structural buildings. So as we can see, there is a correlation of electrical hazards or electrical accidents with a high population, high density area where there are many people involved or many people are working in or living in. So we need to be always mindful of our safety, especially when it comes to electricity. How does a fire start, electrical fire start? We always have the basic components, or what we call the fire tetrahedron. The components will always be the oxygen, the presence of heat or flame, the presence of fuel, and of course a chain reaction or chemical reaction. So all four are the most important elements. Once you have all four, then a fire will start. So if you have electrical sparks, which will be the source of heat, and you have oxygen present, and once those sparks reach a fuel, which could be your typical sofa or any other household furniture, then electrical fires can happen, and they can happen very fast. Now, what are the effects of electrical fire to people like us? So of course, multiple degree burns is always inevitable. Suffocation from the smoke generated by these fires, and of course, if we're not able to escape, fatality is always inevitable. So I painted a picture of what are the risks that we're taking whenever we use electricity. Whenever we are in the presence of electricity, yes, it has benefits, but the risks are always there. But of course, dito sa Meralco, we will do our best to also inform you, our customers, inform as much as we can what we can do to be able to keep safe and from these electrical risks. So I divided the electrical safety into two parts. The first part will be the line side, or risks or incidents that happen near Meralco facilities. And then later, I will be going to the load side, where this happens, these electrical accidents happen in your homes, and what we can do to also control or limit those incidents from happening. So let's first proceed to the first part, which what we can do to limit ourselves from electrical risks or electrical incidents, most especially when we're near Meralco facilities. So based on public safety statistics that we have conducted, building worksite incidents is still the top contributor of 226 public incidents in 2020. This is for the whole franchise area of Meralco. Kung makita nyo dito, we have out of the 226 public incidents, 96 of the incidents were found in building work sites, so construction areas in short. So what are the causes of these incidents? lack of awareness of construction workers on power line safety, building work sites violate safe clearance distance from power lines. So usually smaller projects, home improvement project or smaller construction home projects are violators of this. Yung masyadong malapit na dun sa power lines ni Meralco. So what are the consequences? Of course, injury or fatality to public from accidental contact to power lines. So this is what we want to avoid, and this is what we continue to push always, all the time to the public, because we, as Meralco, we believe that it is the public's right to know these types of things so that they can stay away from the risks and keep themselves safe. So our customers, and that means the public, is also a priority of Meralco. So what are the first things that we need to do? First, we need to know or identify what are Meralco lines, what are Meralco energized lines. So for a subtransmission line, no, it's easy naman to see and know that that is an energized line. So voltage increases as the height increases. That's the general rule. So as you can see from this picture, the higher voltage of 115 kV is way above the post, and then the 34,500 volt line is below it. So it's easy to see for everyone. But we all know that this isn't the only problem. The next would be distribution lines. Distribution lines are equally dangerous as transmission lines, and this is the most common ones. These are the most common ones, especially when it comes to our residential homes. No, as you can see, it still follows the same rule na yung mas mataas na voltage lang nasa pinakamataas. But of course, you still have 230 volts, which is just under the distribution transformer, yung drum na nakikita nyo. And then after that, you have the telecom cable TV wires. So here's the risk that you already, I think that everyone can see already, that because some people, they get so accustomed na ay wala namang kuryente yung telecom cable TV wires, and sometimes nakita nga nila, di ba, that these telecom cable TV wires, nakasampa sila dun sa mga wires nila to do work. They tend to forget that there is actually a 230 volt line there na energized, no? Wala namang hindi naman natin de-energize yung ganon. So unless there is a request from the company to ask, you know, our company to de-energize if needed. But usually this is where people tend to have a confusion, lalo na dun sa mga other areas where there is a significant amount of telecom cable TV wires. So people tend to forget that, oh, there is an electrical live wire here, no? So that is why it's always critical that we know and we can identify what are energized lines. So how do we avoid power line contacts? As mentioned, this is focused more on common incidents from building work sites. So our advocacy, we always advocate when it comes to construction, that construction activities must be avoided near Meralco facilities or our line facilities. Of course, if it cannot be avoided, it is always what we always encourage is that Meralco, those companies always coordinate with Meralco, so that along with Meralco, we can find solutions to be able to mitigate the risk of working near lines. So it's always important. There's always an open communication, and that the people are mindful that there is a hazardous situation that can happen, or there's a hazardous situation present because we have the presence of energized lines. Okay. Improper usual common incidents that happen when it comes to power line contact is improper handling of items. So these are common, no? Some workers, sa sobrang busy nila siguro, they tend to forget that what they're holding is already a conductor. And that what happens is because they did not realize that there's already a nearby electrical line, contact is inevitable. So please take note that it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to touch, that whatever you're holding needs to touch the power line. Even if it's just a few meters away, electricity is, as long as there is a presence of energized line within the area, electricity can always jump to whatever item you are holding and can already cause damage. So as you can see in this picture, sa left side, the man was holding so may exit wound, no, may entry wound and may exit wound. And then the other pictures are right, as you can see, not being mindful or not being aware of the length of the wooden plank that he was carrying. Common incidents that we need to address whenever whenever we have construction activities. Okay. Ayan, ito pa, simpleng ano lang po. There are also greater statistics of what we call working near overhead lines. So as mentioned, there is a great risk for building work site for construction work, but there is also a significant number of working near overhead lines. So people who were just doing house renovations, not really big projects, but just really small improvement projects. So for this case, dito, simple painting, it's not really a construction, but really more of a house painting. But we have an incident that a painter wasn't aware that malapit na pala siya sa power lines, and yung kanyang ginamit na pang paint dumikit na sa power line and caused his actually thankfully he was able to live, but yeah, he still sustained very major injuries. So this is also what we are advocating. And then we also have the presence or the use of cranes or equipment, heavy equipment tools whenever there are big construction projects. So it's always necessary that we have spotters to guide crane operators to avoid power line contact. The same goes with concrete pumps sa construction. If not careful, the boom of the truck, the boom that carries the hose for the cement, can actually hit our power lines and still cause damage to property and injury to people who are within the area. So yun yung first part of our line side power line contact. Now we go to the second half of this, which is, with that, the first one was more of construction focus. This one naman is more on working near or working near overhead lines. So first one would be antenna installation. There is always a risk of being electrocuted or electrically shocked. We've had many instances where our customers were installing the antenna, hindi sila naging mindful ng distance ng antenna from our power lines, and they got electrocuted. So makikita nyo dito, sa right hand niya nagkaroon ng entry point ng kuryente, at sa left foot niya lumabas yung electricity. So it really passed through the person. And like I said, this could have been avoided if they were more aware of the distance they had from power lines. So if they knew or identified the power lines correctly before they started installation of the antenna. Other common acts done near power lines is tree cutting or pruning. So we highly discourage this because, as mentioned, sometimes tree pruning, you're not sure anymore that if the branch that you are pruning is actually already touching power lines. And if that's the case, once you start cutting and your cutter or your tree pruner is a conductor, then electrocution is very much inevitable. So this is one more thing that we always remind our customers, that if you can avoid tree trimming, call Meralco, call professional people who can do the tree pruning for you, who can estimate first the situation and then proceed to cut in caution. Another common activity from our customers is usually fruit picking. So, syempre, as Filipinos, diba, mahilig tayong mamitas ng prutas. But of course, sometimes nakakalimutan din natin na malapit na pala tayo sa power line. And yun ang nagiging cause of injury to our customers. Kasi even if gamitin mo stick, as long as dumikit ka sa power line, electricity can still travel. So we don't want to for our customers or for the public to have to go through that kind of experience. So ganun po ulit, ganun, no? So dito si customer, same treatment, may entry wound from where she was holding the stick, and then may exit wound through her foot. As mentioned, exit wounds usually happen down the foot area because electricity will always travel naturally from to the ground. So that's why downward parati ang travel niya. Ito, so another activity that we have been trying, that we saw, we observed a rise, lalo na nitong ECQ, lockdown times, was kite flying. Ang dami na nating naging outages because of kite flying, and several incidents involving kite flying because people forget that may power line doon, they fly their kites, at nagiging ano rin yun, way of electricity to travel. So kung makita nyo po dito yung incident, one of our customers actually was flying a kite, and ito po yung nakuha niyang injury, no? Kung makita nyo along his palm, kung saan niya hawak-hawak yung tali ng kite niya, doon siya na-injure. So ayun po, these are the activities that we highly dissuade our customers from doing, most especially when near power lines. We're not saying that you shouldn't, but we're always advocating that you should always be aware where the hazards will be and stay away from those hazards. So how do we avoid contact from our power lines? We employ what we call the hierarchy of controls. So if you are in construction area, if you are part of a construction, if you have a part of a construction company or construction projects, then I think this is something that you've already encountered. For the rest who haven't, but I'm pretty sure many of you have, these are what we call the hierarchy of controls. So it starts with elimination. Can we eliminate the hazard? Pwede ba natin tanggalin yung hazard from our working situation? Usually elimination would mean the energization of the electrical line. When you're working, if you're in construction business and you're working near a Meralco site, it could always be to ask, okay, can we eliminate the hazard by de-energizing this line for a moment just to complete the work? That's one type of elimination. The next type of hierarchy of control would be substitution. If just to emphasize what substitution is, if there's work that is done near electrical lines, a substitution may be in the future find a robot who can actually do your work for you near that electrical line, so that you won't have to be there physically to do that work. So that's a form of substitution control. And then of course we have our usual engineering controls, where you could actually put what we call our conductor covers over the electrical wires before you work, so that you limit the risk of electricity contact. We have administrative controls, which includes training of personnel, having the proper checklists before work, and having the proper authorization signed to do the work. And so those are parts of administrative controls. And then we have the PPEs, what we call the last line of defense. Many people think na, why not just wear PPEs? PPEs are the last, as I mentioned, the last line of defense, because this is when you cannot really get rid of the hazard within that work environment. If you cannot get rid of the hazard at all, then PPE, and you need to work and the hazard is still there, then you will really need to use PPEs. But like we said, we keep telling people, PPEs are not the best solution. There's always elimination first in our hierarchy of controls, and then PPE will be the last part of this hierarchy of controls. Okay. So we also inform our customers, especially when our customers are involved in construction, that there is that we need to be compliant to PD 1096 of the National Building Code of the Philippines, where it states that there are proper clearances that must be followed when doing construction near live electric lines. Okay, so that's also what we and this is something that we always inform our customers that this is punishable by law. So sunod po tayo and we will be safe. So to avoid power line contract, please maintain a safe distance of at least 3 meters. According to the PEC, Philippine Electrical Code, depends on the voltage. There will be different distances or clearances, but in general, for the customer, what we made as a general rule is 3 meters is the safest. 3 or beyond 3 meters from the live line or energized line is the safest to work with, to avoid electrical accidents. So here's what I mentioned a while ago as an example of engineering solution is to put barriers around your construction site so that we avoid certain hazards. One would be falling hazards, and then the next would be, of course, electrical line hazards, because with this you limit the movement of your workers just within that compound, so that electrical lines around your work site won't be near your workers. And then, of course, we also have, like I mentioned, if you cannot get rid of the hazard, then we highly encourage our customers to always wear the appropriate PPEs when working near power lines. So dapat may rubber gloves, mayroon pa rin hard hat, mayroon pa rin safety boots na insulated, and then as you can see from the picture, the person is still wearing his fall protection gear. So that's very still important, because as mentioned nga, an indirect an indirect consequence of electrocution is falling from heights. So that is still a very important item to a PPE to have. Aside from the previous controls that I mentioned, we also have initiatives. Meralco has their own initiatives in helping keep the public safe. So we have engineering solutions, which may include reconstruction of facilities. It may include relocating the live lines a little bit further during a building work site within the area to avoid contact with our power lines. And then we also have what we call groundwork activities, where we continue our efforts in informing construction companies, informing building work sites of the hazards of working near our facilities. So we also do constant road shows with the Bureau of Fire Protection to also inform our other customers about the hazards of electricity and electrical fire safety. Meron din tayong mga posters and mga collaterals that we use to further drive our point of the hazards of working near our facilities, whether that be in construction or whether that be yun nga, as I mentioned, tree pruning or fruit picking. So those are what we continue to communicate to the public. And we also have our electrical safety education campaign. We also have electrical safety videos that we share, especially for our customers and the public. And then we also have the Power Line, our Power Up Forum, where we continuously engage our customers and give talks like this on electrical safety to better inform you of what are the hazards of electricity and what we can do to control or limit our risk. We also have engagements with the media to further communicate our message of electrical safety. We'd like to add what can we do when it comes to electrical safety in times of disaster. So alam naman natin na we are a country that's in the Pacific Ring of Fire, and we will always experience typhoons. And since our facilities, Meralco's facilities, are always exposed, possibility of broken down poles or pole downs or wire downs, and of course, sama nyo pa yung risk of flooding is increases the risk of electrocution. So here are just some tips that we'd like to remind you. Never touch, kick, pull, or attempt to pull a fallen wire, even if a telephone wire could be deadly if tangled with power lines some distance away. So, kala natin, ay, wala na, naputulan na ng kuryente yan dahil nahulog na. But but we have to be very cautious. We don't know what other lines we don't see are actually still energized. We have to turn off our main breaker switch before flood water reaches the floor of your house. This is just a precaution. Of course, Meralco always monitors the situation, and if it deems that the situation in this particular flood-prone area is already critical, we do our best to de-energize that area. But as a precaution for everyone, then please turn off your main breakers or switch if you know, lalo na if you are in a flood-prone area. Do not position electrical appliances near windows, or strong rains could get into your appliances and cause short circuits. So that's another reminder for our customers. And of course, as mentioned, stormy weather brings a possibility of downed power lines. So we should always treat them as live and dangerous. Never assume po na just because down na yung poste, eh safe na tayo. There's always that risk. So let's always be cautious and be on guard. So yun po yung risks involved with electricity when it comes to our facilities, when it comes to being near Meralco facilities. Now let's go to the other spectrum, other side of the group, which is the load side, which is these are your homes, these are your offices. So what are some safety tips that we can share with you? So what are the things we can do to avoid electrical accidents at home or in the office? So here are just some. First is this will always usually involve fire safety, electrical fires, avoiding electrical fires. So first is we should always keep hallways and stairways clear for quick exits, and always equip them with smoke detectors whenever possible. So yun po, kasi pagdating po ng emergency, ayaw naman natin that we cannot exit the area properly. If you remember, this is what happened to the ozone incident, ozone club, disco club incident years back, where a lot of college students died because they weren't able to exit the venue properly. So let's always keep our hallways and our emergency exits clear from any blockage or from any thing that can block us from exiting. Next would be, we should always check for signs such as blown out fuses, warm outlet plates, or sparks from switches and outlets. So if there are signs of that, then we should already be cautious. Baka there might be that could be a source of electrical accident. Avoid plugging several electrical appliances to only one outlet, because this may result to power overload and other electrical faults. So yun nga, yung overloading is also usually a major source of electrical incidents and accidents. So we should avoid overloading. Ito, electrical fire prevention. Never leave hot appliances plugged in when you are not around. I included this because this actually happened dito po sa Meralco. A percolator was left by an employee nung years back, and that percolator overheated and then started the fire and caused a huge fire dito sa Meralco compound, and the operations building ng Meralco was burned to the ground because of this incident. So the same goes with you in your offices or in your homes. Never leave hot electrical appliances plugged in when we're not around. So that's something that we should always remember. Parating mag-unplug po tayo just to be safe. So electrical fire, other things that we can do to avoid electrical fires: use extension cords only within their designated ratings. So that's why we always advocate, when you buy extension cords, buy it from reputable sources. Wag po yung sa Tiangge, sa tabi-tabi, because hindi natin alam kung na quality check sila. And mas maganda kung merong branding talaga, para we know that we can that this has gone through the right quality checks. Never let multi-outlet assemblies or cube taps cause overloads. Never use frayed or deteriorated extension cords. So here's another thing that we always remind people: if you have a frayed or meron ka nang nakabulat-lat na wire, tapo na po natin or replace na po natin yun, dahil wag po natin isipin na we can still use it by using electrical tape. marami pong nagkakaroon ng thinking na basta ma-electrical tape mo na yan, okay na yan. The insulation that an electrical tape can give versus the original insulating material of the wire is still far less. Okay, so my point is that whenever a wire is already frayed and there's already a flow of electricity through it, please replace it already, because that can already lead to a spark. Electrical tapes can only hold for long, but its insulation will start to burn away also as you continue to allow electricity to pass through. That's why kami dito sa safety, kapag meron kaming contractor na may nakita namin yung equipment niya, naka-electrical tape yung wiring, pinapa-stop na namin yung work niya at sinasabihan namin yung supervisor na palitan na yung equipment niya na yon para hindi na magkaroon ng electrical safety hazard. Never tamper with fuses to change their current carrying capacity. And this is something that we also witnessed, that some people, some households or some businesses have tampered with their fuse, and the fuse in their breakers are not the proper fuses. That's why we have fuses, is to ensure that when there is a power surge or there's abnormality in electricity, then this will be a fail-safe to cut the flow of electricity. If you are not using the right fuses, then you don't know that that there should already be a cut of electricity, but it's not happening because the fuses are incorrectly used. No, so we want that the fuses are proper so that it cuts the source of electricity kaagad. Okay. Another reminder that we'd like to share with you is whenever there's an electrical fire, never ever pour water. Just because there's a fire, you have to always be mindful, what is the source of the fire? If the source of the fire is electrical, then you should never pour water. It will only worsen the situation. You could be injured because, like we said, water is a conductor, so it could travel back to you if you are the one holding the water, or if you pour it out, it can spread it can make the matters worse. So always ensure that whenever there's an electrical fire, you use the proper type of fire extinguishers. No, usually non-conductive dry powder, carbon dioxide, or vaporizing liquid. So never use water to avoid shock or fatal electrocution when it comes to electrical fires. Some other safety tips, if you can, please put safety caps sa mga outlets natin. This is for the safety of our young ones. Let's take off appliances from the outlet if we're not using them. Let's always ensure that water or any use of water is far away from any outlet, no, because this is a very risky situation. And then make sure that pumps, heaters, and refrigerators or even air cons have their own single circuit, single outlet that they're using, so to avoid overloading or to avoid short circuits in the future. And then, of course, regular inspection of electrical engineers or electricians are always highly encouraged, so that we know that our electrical systems are tip-top shape and in good condition. So before I end my presentation, we'd like to share with you the 10 golden rules on electrical safety. This was introduced, I think, 2 years ago, and we will continue to push for this advocacy. So first, the first one would be treat all electrical systems as energized until proven otherwise. So this is in relation to what I already mentioned, that whenever you know that there's an electrical line, wag po natin i-assume na walang power yon. Let's always assume the worst, that there is electricity flowing. Ensure that electrical systems are properly guarded and equipment appropriately grounded. So grounding is a very important part of when you're using electricity. Number 3, install protective devices that are properly rated and coordinated to automatically isolate faulted parts of the system. So ito yung sinasabi natin na yung mga switches natin, yung mga breakers natin are properly rated and properly designed so that we can isolate faults in the system. Number 4, comply with all applicable industry technical standards in the design and installation of electrical systems. Like I mentioned, compliance to PEC, no, Philippine Electrical Code, will actually help us achieve this. Number 5, consult and engage the services of PRC licensed electrical practitioners. Diba? I think this is already a very important thing to always remember, that whenever you are doing something electrically rated, it's better to have the expertise, the proper expertise in doing these electrical systems and in diagnosing these electrical systems. Number 6, ensure that electrical equipment are labeled, including diagrams, safety signages, and conductors are properly color coded. So this is because people are visual, and that with this, people need to see the caution areas that they need to be careful of. And then, of course, we have to periodically monitor electrical loading within the rated capacity. Sometimes this is something that people tend to forget once they create an electrical system. They don't, they haven't seen the changes in their environment, that inadequate na pala yung kanilang system dun sa current demands. So that's always one thing that we should always be checking. Regularly inspect and maintain electrical systems and equipment. Number 9, wear appropriate PPE and use proper tools when conducting electrical works. We already mentioned this earlier. And number 10, provide disconnecting means for local and manual isolation of electrical equipment during emergencies. So during emergencies, dapat may system tayo to automatically shut off or stop the flow of electricity if needed. All right. So those are I think the 10 golden rules is a summary of everything that I discussed previously. That ends my presentation on electrical safety. Thank you very much. I turn now the floor back to Ms. Tin.
Thank you so much, Sean, for a very informative presentation. We hope that everyone was able to grasp everything, especially those that are really important when it comes to safety at workplace. All right, so our next speaker will now talk about power quality. Let us give a virtual round of applause to our Energy Solutions Engineer, Mr. Dean Sempio.
Good afternoon to all. This is the power quality portion of the presentation. So what is power quality? Power quality from Meralco is always based on the PDC. I have shown you the 2017 edition. On Article 3.2, power quality is defined in detail. So what is power quality? In the distribution code, it is the quality of the voltage and the resulting current, and it must be measured during normal conditions, because when you have no power during an outage, you cannot measure power quality because there is no power to be measured. So these are the parameters and limits of the power quality as shown in the PDC. A plus and minus limit for the service voltages, power harmonics at 5%, and voltage unbalance at 2.5% maximum. So for voltage regulation, Meralco uses 230 volts, whose lower 10% is 207 and higher 10% is 253 volts. So anytime you measure the voltage in your system, it should be between 207 and 253 and could change very, very rapidly, but still it is within the plus or minus 10 limits. So why 230 volts? Meralco chose the 230 volts based on the amended distribution services open access rules, resolution 2 of the ERC series 2010, which means every DU shall adopt 230 volts as its normal service voltage. It means that everywhere you go in the Philippines, it is going to be 230 volts, not 220 and not 240. So voltage mismatch happens when you have equipment that does not match the supply given by the distribution utility. So in this case, the induction motor is rated at 380 volts and the standard is 400 volts. You are going to have serious voltage mismatches. In this example, SM is basically most of the time they are primary metered, so you supply the transformer. So when your tenant is having a 220 volt load and the other tenants have 230 volts, that tenant will have always problems regarding the operation of the equipment because of the mismatched loads at 220 and your supply of 230 volts. So when the voltage that you measure is 245 and you have a nominal 230 volts, your 220 volt appliances, your 220 volt equipment will have problems because of their upper limit is only 242 volts instead of, while the actual measured voltage is 245 and well within the limits of the 230 volts plus or minus 10. The same way, when the voltage is lower at 210 volts, 230 volts, no problem because it is still within that minus 10%. But when you have a 240 volt equipment, it could have problems. Its lower 10% is only 216 volts. So going to voltage unbalance, the maximum voltage unbalance by the PDC is 2.5%. And one of the causes that happened in SM on a way back 5-7 years ago is when the neutral of the SM tenant was not bonded to the ground of the supply transformer. So the 230 volts is not very stable and it caused an unbalance in the single phase 230 volts, which made them unable to operate their equipment. So when you properly bond the neutral and the ground, you have a 230 volt stable across all three phases. For voltage harmonics, the limit is 5% as provided by the PDC. The harmonics is the numbers which affect the waveform of the voltage that the power supplied. So what is the loads producing harmonics? It is probably it is mostly your inverter motors, the air cons, the reps, the LED lights, and all electronic equipment. They all produce harmonics. And serious producing harmonic loads are, even though you only have one equipment, any one of these, it is enough to very visibly affect the operation and the perception of voltage of your neighbors. Especially this welding machine, when your neighbor operates a welding machine, I am very sure that your house will feel the effects through flickering lights. When you measure harmonics in your system, you always use the point of common coupling, which is basically the secondary of your transformer. You don't measure harmonics on the loads because it's going to give you a very, very skewed data, and it is not going to be very helpful when you are going to evaluate the effects of harmonics in your system. So power quality, in short, is a combination of the efforts of three stakeholders: the utility, which is Meralco, the end user, which is SM, and the equipment manufacturer. Meralco alone cannot provide good power quality if the equipment manufacturer and the end user is not on board with their efforts. Because even though Meralco provides a stable 230 volt supply, but however, the equipment manufacturer provides a 50 hertz supply that is based on 220 volts. You're going to have a very, very big problem operating that particular equipment. So it is always going to be a joint effort to ensure good power quality. And some tips to get good power quality, which is achieving electromagnetic compatibility. When you design your equipment and your system, a voltage mismatch can already be avoided when you properly design your equipment, when you properly design your system. Voltage mismatch of procuring the equipment or providing power to the system can already be avoided. And if you are cornered and you have to particularly get equipment that is not standard to what the utility is providing, you will be forced to provide line conditioning devices such as a UPS or an AVR, most probably, just to make sure that your equipment can operate in the system provided by the utility. And that could prove very, very costly. So that's it. I would like to turn over the presentation to Ma'am Tin.
Thank you so much, Sir Din, for sharing your expertise on power quality. And now, our final speaker will talk about the obligations of designated establishments under the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Law, or the Republic Act 11285. Let us all welcome on screen your Relationship Manager, Mr. Mark C.
Thank you, Tin, for that wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, SM Partners. Again, I am Mark, your Relationship Manager handling SM Conglomerate. Today, I will be providing you a refresher on the new law that needs our attention, as the deadline of compliance is on April 2021. I will be sharing with you slides from the OE presentation. So let's move on. So basically, Republic Act 11285, also known as Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, was approved and signed last April 2019 and was made effective the following month by President Rodrigo Duterte. This act basically promotes efficient use of energy and provide incentive for companies with energy efficiency and conservation projects. So, what is ESCO? So these are energy service company. They are companies that can be your partner in complying to this new law. So they can also provide services to help you further enhance or develop EE projects to guarantee energy savings that your company could benefit on, not only through its cost-efficient performance, but with incentives included in this law. So basically, this law has a incentive program para to provide push to the companies na mag-engage dito sa law na to. Moving on, how can ESCOs be registered or certified? So an ESCO should seek accreditation from DOE by submitting requirements on technical and legal capacity prescribed by the guidelines. After filing and receiving the certificate as registered ESCO, they will then seek approval to become a certified ESCO. So how can you become a certified ESCO? So to become a certified ESCO, the company should provide result-based project savings experience and proven customer experience. So basically, they need to show proof that they help a company to have a savings para dito sa particular law na to. So to share with you, here are the list of ESCOs as of November 24, 2020. One of which is Meralco Energy Inc., or commonly known as MSERV. This is a subsidiary of Meralco that can be partner in compliance to this new law. So there are other list of ESCOs that you could choose from para maging partner ninyo to comply with this new law. So there are 40 companies that can be of your choice. So next, the designated establishment. So who are required to comply to this new law? So they are the designated establishments. So designated establishment are entities, are private entities, basically, that consumes energy. So it is further categorized into three other DE, type 1 DE, and lastly type 2 DE. So to further identify the type of DE, your company, here are the criteria. So for other DE, at least you should have at least an annual energy consumption of 100 megawatt hour, but less than 500 megawatt hour. Next, for type 1 designated establishment, you should have an annual energy consumption of 500 megawatt hour, but less than 4 gigawatt hours. So lastly, for type 2 DE, which I think most of the establishment of SM, especially the malls or BPOs, belong to this category. You should have an annual energy consumption of 4 gigawatt hour and above. So normally, a basic sample of this is Mall of Asia, SM North. So yan yung mga malalaki ninyong malls. So I think you are classified as type 2 designated establishment. So energy consumptions also includes fuels used for your generators. So basically, hindi lang electricity. So lahat ng fuel use ninyo should be converted to kilowatt hour. Para po, yun yung included po siya sa annual energy consumption po ninyo. So what are the requirements that each designated establishment should comply? So dito po kailangan natin ito po yung dapat nating matandaan dahil yung deadline of submission is very near na, this coming April 2021. So for the other DE, they need to submit forms 3 and 4, which can be downloaded through DOE website. So you could check po itong link na to as shown in the presentation. And next, for type 1 DE, your company needs to employ an energy conservation officer and submit both forms 3 and 4. So, so to be a qualified energy conservation officer, you need to have at least 2 years of continuous hands-on experience in the installation, operation, and maintenance of energy-consuming machines and equipment. So basically, I think your engineers in malls are qualified for this. So lastly, for type 2 designated establishment, your company needs to employ an energy manager and need to submit both forms as well, Form 3 and Form 4. And to qualify as an energy manager, a graduate of 4-year course or its equivalent, preferably engineering major, with at least 3 years of continuous hands-on experience in installation, operation, and maintenance of energy-consuming machines and equipment. So basically, sa malls, I think you are trained to do this hands-on experience then. So lastly, let me again take the opportunity to promote MServe, our subsidiary, with their services that could help you with Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. Hope we could be partners to attain the objective of this new law. So to share with you energy efficiency services that are provided by MServe are audit and advisory, design and build, energy management. So basically, energy management, this is the full ESCO na our MServe could provide you and assist you with. So based from the discussion of Engineer Dean, you can download energy efficiency and power quality manuals through our website for your future reference. And lastly, you could also visit our website for our article releases, operational updates, rate schedules, and more. So to end my presentation, here is our website. It's www.corporatepartners.meralco.com.ph. Again, I am Mark Wilson C., your relationship manager, and thank you and have a good afternoon. Back to you, Tin.
Thank you, Mark, for all this information and updates on this new law. At this point, we will now proceed with the Q&A portion, wherein we will be joined again by Sean, Dean, and Mark, our speakers for today. Again, feel free to key in your questions and or comments. We encourage you to identify yourself so we can acknowledge you properly. I shall now direct the comments and questions of our viewers. All right, so we have our first question, and this is for Sean. What is our safe standard height for 115 kV, 34.5 kV, and 230 kV?
I think 230 volts.
Volts, I'm
Anyway,
sorry.
yes. So for the 115 kV, we have a standard height of 27 meters. So that's what we use as our standard height. For the 34.5 kV, what we use is 13-meter height. And then for the 230 volts, we use a height of 7 meters. That's the answer, Ma'am Tin.
All right. Thank you, Sean, for sharing that information. Okay, moving on to the next question. How do you address power fluctuation issues? Sir Dean, I think this is yours.
Thank you, Ma'am Tin. For power fluctuation issues, we do root cause analysis. For example, if we found out that the cause of the fluctuations is on the customer side, we go to the customer side and try to ascertain what can we do to prevent the cause together with the customer. But if the cause of the fluctuation comes from the Meralco side, we initiate maintenance procedures to ensure that the cause of the fluctuation will not happen again. So, like, for example, the cause is a bird that dropped over the power lines. What we do is we install bird catchers or bird guards so that the birds can no longer go to the power lines. And we install this on the post where the bird fell, plus 2 other posts before and after that particular one. And even if the cause is lightning, what we do is we improve the grounding of the particular post in the particular area. So whatever happens, Meralco will keep on its toes and try to minimize the fluctuations that is affecting our system. Back to you, Ma'am Tin.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Dean. I think the next question is to be answered again by Sir Dean. Why is the Meralco standard for 100 volts when the commercially available sources or manufacturers are using 380 volts? Wouldn't there be voltage mismatch? Sir Dean?
Thank you, Ma'am Tin. Definitely there will be equipment voltage mismatch due to Meralco standard 400 volts and the equipment manufacturer's 380 volts. Most of the, as I've shown you earlier, the DSOR, the distribution standard, the DSOR says that the DU can designate 230 volts and 400 volts as the nominal voltage. So what we try to do is we try to have the customers change the equipment. Either you can provide a line conditioning equipment, or you can probably have to rewire the 380 volt equipment so that it can accept 400 volts. Ma'am Tin, back to you.
All right, Sir Dean. I think you can answer this another question, Sir Dean. Do you recommend the use of energy or power-saving devices?
Okay. So the power-saving devices that I've come across I have found in the malls. They are very small and compact devices. When we opened some of them, we found out that most of these devices are just capacitors. The same capacitors that you can find when you open the electric motors of your electric fans. These capacitors do not save power. They can correct power factor. But since your residential accounts do not have a power factor item on their bill, improving the power factor is not a necessity to residential accounts. So having to use these these energy saving devices, you can use them if you feel good when you're using them, but please do not expect them to save the power, especially at the levels that they are claiming. Thank you, Ma'am Tin.
Thank you so much, Sir Dean. So next question is about safety. So Sir Sean, please be ready. What are the safety clearances for 115 kV and for 230 kV?
Yes, ma'am. As mentioned in the presentation, based on the Philippine Electrical Code, there are several there's a chart that they show the differences between these voltages, but the most from what I've read, the most that the minimum distance safe clearance would be around 3 meters and above. So as long as you are 3 meters or more than 3 meters away from our lines of 115 kV to 230 kV, then that would be a good enough distance. So 3 meters would be the most minimum, but like I said, in terms of safety, why go for the minimum if you can go beyond the minimum and just stay away as far as you can. Thank you,
All
Ma'am.
right, got it. Thank you, Sean. So the next question is about EE. So if we have multiple establishments, is it allowed to just assign one ECO or EM instead of placing one per establishment? Mark?
Thank you, Tin, for that wonderful question. No, basically, assigning one ECO or EM for a designated establishment. Again. For multiple establishment, you can assign one ECO or one EM depending on what category you are, as long as you could provide the needed details, and you can still have someone to assist you in doing your job properly. Thank you. Back to you, Tin.
All right, Mark, thank you. Is the 500,000 kilowatt the average of an annual consumption? This is for you again, Mark.
Hi, thank you again for the question. The 500,000 kilowatt hour, so it's not kilowatt, it's 5,000 kilowatt hours. This is the annual consumption for a type 1 designated establishment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark, for clarifying. Next question. For type 2 DEs, are ECOs also required along with EMs? Mark, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank
This
you
is
again
for you again.
thank you again for the question. So basically, based from the guidelines, for type 2 designated establishment, your company should employ only one EM. But again, as I mentioned a while ago, you could always have someone with you to assist you in preparing those details. Thank you.
All right, we got it, Mark. Thank you. Another question. What is the unit of measure for EMF? Sean, this is for you. Sean, you're on mute.
For EMF or electromagnetic fields, the most the unit for measure will be milligauss. So Gauss is their standard unit of measurement, and I think this is related to concerns about electromagnetic field radiation emitted by our power lines. We would like to say that based on studies, the radiation emitted by microwave ovens is far greater than the radiation that our electric lines or transmission lines emit. So in terms of concerns about radiation from our electric lines, I think it's much even safer to sometimes be near our facilities than a microwave oven or when you use a microwave oven. So I think those are just to quell the fears of electromagnetic radiation from our power lines. Thank you, Ma'am Tin.
All right. Thank you, Sean. I think this is again related to EMF. What is the acceptable level of EMF that the body can take?
The acceptable level of EMF that the body can take would be around less than 9,000 mg from the studies that we've seen. And as mentioned, based on studies, the EMF that we emit, that our facilities emit, would be around 5 to 10 mg. So very minuscule compared to what our body can take. So I think that would be to answer that question.
All right, thank you, Sean. I hope our panelists are able to answer your questions. So we still have 2 to 3 questions before we bring this to a close. Okay, next question, can MServe provide CECO or CEM services if we do not want to hire a designated CECO or CEM in our company? Mark, this is for you.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Tin. So basically, MServe is an ESCO. So they could provide you the certified ECO and the certified energy manager. So you could always hire and our MServe could provide you those requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Another question for Mark again. Can an REE be an energy manager, or the EM should have continuous hands-on experience? Please clarify, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you again for that question natin. So basically, as mentioned a while ago, it is best to have a energy manager who is a graduate of engineering major. So I think an RE, a registered electrical engineer, is suitable to be an energy manager. And he should, I think, be should always practice the operation and maintenance of a company. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Another question here. Can this tax incentive be actively applied to energy efficient machines and equipment we've already installed? Mark, this is for you again.
I think this should not be a retroactive incentive because the machines are already installed. So this is a proactive it's moving forward. The incentive should be moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So if there are no more questions, I think this was a very fruitful discussion. So clearly we have a lot to discuss, but we hope that we were able to clarify and cover most, if not all, of the topics. So thank you to our panelists for joining our Q&A. So if you have further questions or concerns, we encourage you to contact us, your relationship manager, so we can be of help. You may also visit our website at www.corporatepartners.meralco.com.ph. You may also share with us your thoughts on how best you can gain more useful information and tips from the Meralco Corporate Partners. So thank you again, and we hope to see you soon in our future meetings and webinars. We hope to do this more often. That is why we are posting the link to our survey form at the Q&A panel. This has been the Meralco Power Up Live webinar on sustainability and safety updates for SM Prime. Again, I am Tin Lopez, signing off. Good afternoon, stay safe and healthy, everyone.